I remember my very first video, I was like texting in the group chat, like, hey guys, I decided to start a YouTube on like personal development, self-help stuff. And they were pretty supportive. Like they were, oh, they're like, I remember one of my friends, what did he say? Something along the lines of just trying to teach kids with absolutely no swag how to function in life. Just like down bad people. I'm like, kind of. Yeah. Yeah, that's kind of it. So I was pretty open about it at the start, and I was even posting it on all my social medias, my real social media. So I have a real Instagram and then like my brand Instagram. Real Instagram is more for like my friends. Before I even started the brand Instagram, I was posting it on my real Instagram. I'd promote every single video I made on my stories, Snapchat story too. A lot of people in my area knew about it, like people who went to the same school as me growing up or kind of knew about me, like they heard about this kid making YouTube videos. And you know, my friends were supportive at first. I definitely got roasted quite a bit by other people just outside of the circle. I remember hearing things. There's one girl I grew up with who was talking to one of my friends, and she's like, she said to the friend, she asked him, is this satire? Like, is this guy serious right now? Because it was so vastly different from how I acted growing up. Partly because I didn't really do any sort of self-development type of stuff, but also because, you know, I was afraid to talk about what I really wanted to talk about. And I guess I didn't know back then how much I enjoyed progressing myself and getting into self-development. It wasn't even a concept in my head before I started like studying it and making videos about it. So there was that girl, and then there was another girl who posted, I think, like on her Snapchat story, like one of my videos, and she's like, look at how ratchet this guy is. Ratchet of City Honors, which was my high school. I'm like, dude, what the hell? I didn't really care at the start. So, I mean, as far as like the progress from showing people, I mean, I feel like I've always shown people, even though I was getting roasted and I had nothing to show for what I was doing. It was like, that's a very natural reaction to get from people when you're doing something outside of the norm or trying to do your own thing, is like, how's this going to make you money? What the fuck are you doing? You should probably like think about what you're doing here. Like, how could this ever possibly become a thing? And something in me just knew YouTube was going to work out one day.
Why?
I don't know, but there's some sort of feeling, voice, intuition, whatever you want to call it, that has always known YouTube would work out if I just kept posting videos. Even when it was 3 years into posting videos and I just got 1,000 subscribers.
3 years into posting videos and you had 1,000 subscribers.
Yes.
And you knew within you that this was going to work out.
Yes. Yes. I remember one of my friends coming up to me at like a party. He's like, it was around that time. And he was like, yeah, man, I hope it works out. I mean, that'd be dope. And I was just like, I know it is. Wow. Just for some reason, I just knew one day if I kept posting that I would be a YouTuber.
What was the moment it felt different?
Like the moment I was like, I am a YouTuber now?
The moment when I guess other people recognized or saw what you yourself knew was a reality since you started.
That's a good question. I guess for like the majority of people who know about it from my hometown, they probably like would actually give me some respect and rep. I don't know.
They appreciate the rep.
Yeah. They would after I hit like 100K probably. Yeah. But for like my closer friends, probably once I was in Vegas for a little while. So I had 3 months where I lived in Vegas with a couple other YouTubers and then a couple people who I went to school with growing up, City Honors. And that was an interesting time, but that was right after the first like viral video finally blew up. And I was like, it's time to make this shit a reality. The things that I've been telling myself will happen are finally kind of starting to happen. So I'm like, let me move in with some YouTubers in Vegas, focus on YouTube, double down on it, and really make it my full-time job, because it still wasn't back then. I finally got monetized in 2020 after I started in 2017, and like it was making like, I don't know, a few $100s a month or some shit like that. And yeah, that's when I went there. And I think once the growth started happening, some friends back home, you know, they were giving me some respect. And then, you know, I've really noticed it after the 100K. I remember being at a party specifically, and I think everyone's great to each other, and we're all close friends. But there's one specific incident where like this girl came up to me. You know, she introduced herself. Well, she didn't introduce herself to me. I knew her, and she introduced herself to me at the party on that day. She was like, "Hey, what's up?" I'm like, and then she brought one of her friends over. She's like, "Yo, this dude just hit 100K subscribers," and I'm like, "Oh, so that's how y'all are treating me now." So now I'm pretty high worth, huh? And it's funny to see, even now, when I interact with some people back in Buffalo, how much differently they treat me now. And a lot of the people who were roasting me back then are now saying congratulations.
Will Smith had this great thing where he was talking about when he became a movie star, suddenly the people around him didn't really know how to act because their perception of what he was broken.
Yeah.
And obviously you're not a movie star, but your perception in people's eyes is way different now. And now it's like they couldn't see that reality for you, but you could see it for yourself.
Right.
And it's just, I'm curious about that 3-year phase, because that 3-year phase is what a lot of people listening to this might be in, but they know. I'm curious, like, what did you do? What did you build? And like, how did you mentally imagine the future or have such a clear picture of the future? Were there any practices that you did, or were there any things that made you so confident or so clear on the vision?
I would say, first off, there was not a clear picture. The only like clear thing was like become a YouTuber and constantly affirm myself of that. I didn't know what the fuck I was doing. I just liked making videos. I liked putting them out there, and I said to myself, you know, one day this is going to work out. And perhaps that's good, but maybe having a little more of a plan would have been better, you know, so it would take less than 3 years. Even though I was studying YouTube and what worked, what didn't throughout those 3 years, I think what I did during that time was, I guess, focus, because now I feel like my editing has almost hit a plateau. I think during that time I was really experimenting with all different types of editing. Once I started getting into Adobe After Effects instead of just Premiere Pro, Adobe After Effects is really powerful. Can do a lot of motion graphics with it, just a lot of different cool effects. And almost every video I made back then, I would watch a YouTube tutorial on some type of After Effects effect or Premiere Pro effect. That's what that period of time, I think, is what really made me like stand out in editing from other YouTubers. Is I would try to get 1% better with every video. I would try to get 1% better with each edit. And despite having an overarching theme of back then, I mean, so for a little while, I started the channel as self-development, and then it changed to fitness for a little while because I started picking up traction on my Instagram, and my Instagram was all based around fitness. So I'm like, I'm going to become a fitness YouTuber. And so the overarching thing around that time was like plant-based fitness. So despite that being the overarching theme, you know, I would still like try all these different editing techniques and stuff like that. And I try to study other YouTubers, but to get in that mindset of success, I suppose it's, I don't know. I mean, I'm sure I read a lot of books that helped me change my mindset on things. Really, when I first started getting into self-development, I was more so getting into like spirituality and like, again, just finding who I was apart from what people were telling me I was. And I feel like that during that time is when I was like deconstructing each belief I had about myself and transforming it into something that would actually be beneficial to me, which I realized I could do at that point in my life, sophomore year of college. So a bit of that. And I think there's a lot of controversy around this, if it even works or not. But I still to this day practice saying affirmations every single day before bed. And during that time I was journaling a lot more, and journaling affirmations, you know, like saying, I, Cole Hastings, am a full-time YouTuber. Now I look back on 2017, I still have the journal from back then, and it's like I wrote down exactly what I am now, like a full-time YouTuber, except I said I would have a fitness business back then, but it's not fitness anymore. You know, I'd be a full-time YouTuber, be able to live anywhere, and just
get interviewed on the Danny Miranda podcast.
Yes, that was in there as well, and specifically
Crazy.
Danny Miranda in a cool studio setup.
Why do you think that doing that is controversial? Because it's something that I do as well, and I didn't realize there was any controversy with it.
I think it's just like it falls under law of attraction, and law of attraction's gotten some backlash because of the people who promote it are kind of promoting like, yo, you keep doing this, you will be successful. And gonna keep it real, they're like, some people are not gonna make it, even if they do try. I think that if you continuously do something, you get 1% better each time you do it, and you do it for years, potentially, you'll get somewhere eventually. You'll see something out of it. But if you don't, that means like you're doing something severely wrong, and you need to switch up what you're doing. So in that way, I mean, it's like if you switch up what you're doing and then you keep going, eventually you'll see some sort of success out of what you're doing. But there's definitely, in terms of law of attraction and like affirmation, I think there's some survivorship bias being instilled there, because like how many other people are doing affirmations and have been for years, but they don't have what they want yet. So that's where I think the controversy comes from. Yeah, I don't know. It's like how would it actually help just saying things? I think what I like to think of as like the psychological more scientific aspect of it is what is called I think it's called Baader-Meinhof phenomenon. So once you learn about a concept of something, or you've been saying something a long time, you'll start to notice that thing more in your environment. Yes. So like if you've been watching a TV show, let's say about, I don't know, apples, right? You'll notice like apples that you usually didn't pay attention to that you see frequently, you'd start to notice more. So the same thing with saying success affirmations or just really specific affirmations. I think it just primes your brain to like focus on the things that will lead you to what you are affirming.
Yeah, makes sense to me, and it builds the thing that you want to get. It keeps it top of mind often.
Yes.
It's crazy how often we forget things, and how like even the things that are most important to us, if I don't remind myself of them often, I forget it and I'm on to the next thing.
Yeah.
And so the affirmations is a good way of keeping the thing top of mind. And yeah, it's been helpful for me as well.